Assalamu Alaikum everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So in today's video is slightly different. It's different to things that we have talked about in the last couple of years. A few years ago we used to talk about a lot about general investments in terms of like thesis in investment, goals and reasons and so on, and that's what I would like to bring back in the next few videos, inshallah. And this is the first of many videos that I would like to share with you guys, because there are there are reasons why we're doing this. Right now what you see in front of you is my actual portfolio. It took me about 4 years to build this portfolio, and it's not something that I decided overnight, oh yeah, let me just buy this company or that company. There's a plan in place, alhamdulillah, and inshallah hopefully see what happens. I'm gonna try to execute that plan. What I want to do today is talk about our investment strategies, our goals. Why are we doing this? This portfolio, like I said, has a reason. What is that reason? What is that reason for you? Why have you even clicked this video today? And why have you subscribed to the channel? If you haven't, by the way, please do so. It really genuinely helps the channel. But why are we all here? What is the goal? What is the end goal? What are we trying to achieve? Is it financial, independence? Is it, building generational wealth? Is it just to make a quick money? Is it just to a greed? Whatever the case might be, we all have our own reasons. What I would like to talk about in maybe next few videos, inshallah, is to kind of sit back and really think about the bigger picture. Because once you get caught up in specific stocks and ETFs and so on, you forget the bigger picture. You buy and sell, and you just kind of forget, because the stock market is going up, it's going down and so on. You kind of lose track of why have we all, what was the reason behind that we started this whole thing. And that's what I would like to do today, is just to kind of share with you guys some of the reasons why we should invest. Okay, that's the next couple of videos we'll talk about that. But in today's video, I just want to talk about FIRE. FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. It's just this idea that started in 1992, and it was basically based on a book called Your Money or Your Life. And that is basically, the authors asked a few questions there about the readers, and that's how it kind of started the whole thing. And there are a lot of people, if you go on YouTube and just type FIRE, you'll see millions of videos. And you will see, not even YouTube, just go to Google, you'll find loads of articles. One which I actually like is the guy called the Money Mustache, and he is the kind of main man that kind of promoted this whole idea of FIRE. So what is FIRE? Why is it important? And so on. That's what we're going to talk about. What is it? What does it look like? What do you have to do? And so on. But first thing first, we might be talking about FIRE, but not basically, that's one idea. Okay, but there are other ideas, there are other ways of basically being able to retire at some point in your life. And again, why do we want to retire? Why do we actually just want to stop working and so on? There's a lot of benefits for us, like could be health benefits, it could be opportunities to travel, it could be starting a new career, a new business venture, or could be something else, whatever the decision is. Some people might not even like to retire early. Some people might want to take like a mini retirement. I don't know if you ever read the book called 4-Hour Workweek. You just read a good book, and it just talks about having these mini retirements. So you build these businesses or whatever, and then you just leave and take a gap year and just like travel the world, and that kind of re-energizes you and helps you in the long run. So there are a lot of other things that we could do, but in today's video we're only going to focus on financial independence and retire early, and what it is and what it means to people. But again, if you don't agree with basically what some of the things I've said about this, you don't have to necessarily do FIRE. You can actually do other things to, inshallah, to help you. So before we do that, by the way, just if you haven't joined us in the Patreon account, please do so. It will cost you about 15p per day, and of course it helps the channel in the long run. So let's do it. Let's start with the first point. So financial independence, retire early, is what we're talking about here. FIRE. And like we said, what is the goal? What are we trying to achieve? Okay, where are we heading? And like I said, it could be health benefits. Just you want to retire because you just want to be, just take care of yourself. It could be opportunity to travel and see the world out there. And right now you might be working in places like the UK, US, whatever, is basically running around every single day, You might have a family, you might not even see them as much as you would have liked. You want to spend a bit more time with your family or friends. You might want to travel and see the world, like I said earlier, start a new career. So you might want to change things up, and you've got enough investment to kind of retire early so you can actually pursue other things. Maybe you got into the degree that you've got into just by accident, and all of a sudden you don't really enjoy it, but alhamdulillah, you made enough money, you've got enough investment, and now you want to change things up. Maybe you want to travel and give back to communities and so on. It could be starting a new business venture. So you're now in your, I don't know, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever it is, and you think, okay, maybe this is time for me to start that business that I've been thinking about. So having retirement, it doesn't mean just being, I don't know, 60, 70 years of age and staying at home, and all of a sudden, your whole body's kind of just like, completely losing, and you are basically got hundreds of thousands in the bank. That's not really a retirement. That's just not the right way to go about it. What I'm talking about here is retiring early, meaning like at least while you still can do things. We're not talking about being in your 60s. So if you're in your 50s, you're still young. Of course, you can still travel, and you've got at least another, InshaAllah, may Allah give you a basically long life. But if you get to that stage of 50 to 80, InshaAllah, that's 30 years of genuinely enjoying your life and doing the things that are important to you. So what I'm going to do is now just talk about generally what FIRE is, and hopefully this will help you to kind of think about the bigger picture, and rather than just focusing on the day-to-day of the stock markets and so on. So like I said, the FIRE movement is a wide-ranging set of financial practices designed to support retirement before the standard retirement age. And that's the most important thing. Before you get to that situation, basically you save things aggressively as much as you can, you invest it and so on, and then you end up basically retiring slightly earlier than the usual. So there are three types of FIRE. Okay, so we've got lean FIRE, we've got fat FIRE, and we've got brisk FIRE. So I'm just going to quickly give you a little bit overview of each one of these things. So lean FIRE means saving what you can and then living frugally in retirement, taking small amount from your investments. We'll talk about that in a second, how you do go about that. But so it's spending like as little as 25,000 a year, which can be a lot of money, but just as small as that. Okay, so you save as much as you can frugally for quite some time, and then live off basically that retirement frugally. So you're not really buying luxury stuff once you're in retirement. You still be mindful of the fact that you have, you need to be able to be moderately spend that money. The next part is the fat FIRE. This is basically saving a large amount in investment, okay, so you can afford a few more luxuries. So this is the opposite of basically lean FIRE. So fat FIRE allows you to basically pursue your current lifestyle without having to cut back. But that means you're going to have some sort of, you need basically a bold saving strategy and a high salary to meet your ambitions, basically savings goals. So if you got really good salary coming in every single month and you basically cutting back things, you can then have actual basically fat FIRE, which basically means you can still live the lifestyle that you've got now, if not even better. And finally, brisk FIRE. This is with the idea of kind of happy medium between the two. And what you're trying to do here is you've got a little bit of part-time job, you've got your investment, okay, so you're not working, you don't have to necessarily work every single week or whatever. You've got a bit of a part-time job to kind of support your lifestyle, and you kind of have a lower basically set yourself lower saving goals and prioritize work-life balance rather than fully retirement. So you work a little bit, and at the same time you've got a bit of investment that supports your lifestyle, which is really good. So that's like a happy medium. Right, let's go over some of the basically how you go about doing this. So how does the FIRE movement work? So what you will do is, if you're working towards basically an early FIRE retirement, you will start with two important concepts: your FIRE number and the 4% rule. And I'll explain what those things mean. So the 4% rule is this idea of, for example, if you've got £1 million or dollars portfolio. Again, you might be thinking that's a lot of money. Of course it is, but we're just giving you this as an example here, right? So you've got basically that $1 million and basically portfolio that you built, whether it's stocks and basically properties, whatever it is, right? And the idea is under the 4% rule, you withdraw basically 4% of that every single year, which means, so for example, if you're withdrawing 4% of your entire investment, and you imagine your entire portfolio is in the S&P 500, the S&P 500 goes up yearly on average about 7 to 10%. So withdrawing 4% is not really going to reduce your entire net basically wealth. So your portfolio is still growing at least 3 or more percent every single year, and you're taking 4%. That's the whole idea of basically having to withdraw the 4% rule, and that 4% should be enough. So 40,000 basically portfolio basically withdrawals actually should be enough. Okay, so that 4%, that's basically where it came from. And this is just to give you an example. When you're doing your calculations, you just need to take that into consideration. Okay, again, it depends on how much you want to spend. And the other part is the basically when it comes to 25 cents. So according to the 4% rule, a person needs to invest 25 times their annual expenses to reach financial independence. So this is basically the idea of that 4% withdrawal rule. And how it works is basically the 50,000 that's basically you need every single year. So if your expense was 50,000, you times by that 25, you need $1.25 million basically retirement savings estimate. So that's your estimate basically, and that's how basically this works. So let's just talk about a couple of more other things now. So now we have that calculation. Again, you might not need to, of course, you have an idea of exactly what it is. What is the pros or cons basically of doing this? So reduce the stress. Why? Because you're not really working for someone else. You have now retired. You could either have a Bristify, Leanfy, whichever it is. You've got that bit of a freedom. Okay, so that increased free time that you've got for family and friends and travel and things that you want to do. You've got greater financial security, knowing that you could stay at home tonight and nothing is going to happen. And you financially will be okay, and that you build that generational wealth. If you, God forbid, if you pass away tonight, at least you've got some money left for your family and the people that you genuinely care. Now, some of the cons is basically restrictive savings and budgeting. So that means you're gonna have to live frugally for quite some time. Okay, maybe 10, 15 years, 20 years. And when I say frugally, I'm not just talking about we'll talk about this in definitely coming videos. But when it comes to saving and budgeting, is really the most important part. That's the basics. Okay, I teach young people how to basically save and so on. And one of the things that we talk about first is saving and budgeting. And they were like, oh, this is boring. But it is boring, but it's the most important part. I remember reading this book called, I think it was The Teacher Millionaire, I think that I read. And he was talking about this idea when he finished university and he started working. He was actually living in an apartment on his own, and he wouldn't have actually the heater on during this winter. And I think he's Canadian, and you know what, how cold Canada gets. So he wouldn't have the heaters on because of the amount of the electricity. He didn't basically want to pay for it, or electricity or gas or anything like that. So, and he said he will actually wrap himself in blankets and whatever. And he said, in the morning when I wake up, that smoke that comes out of your mouth when you step outside. He said that was happening inside his apartment. But guess what? In his 30s, I think it was 35, before 35, he retired with basically the enough investment that he's actually made. So he was investing aggressively and budgeting aggressively in his early 20s, and so that helped him to retire at the end of basically before 35. Read his book. It's a great book. I read it just before I started investing. It was really kind of changed my mindset of when it comes to money. Again, if you haven't read the book called The Psychology of Money, great book. It changes basically the way you see money and the way you actually, right now I don't go to, for example, I would not working into like JD and just buy brand new trainers. I can't do that. Okay, I will actually go to every single shop that I know of. Then I will make a decision based on that. I can't buy flashy whatever. I still, of course, like to look good and buy things that are nice and I know they hold value and so on. But at the same time, you got to budget, you got to save, and we will talk about this in a later video. But the great investment risk as well. Okay, so all of these things that we're talking about is just changing your mindset and thinking about, okay, why am I actually investing in this stock market? Why am I stressing about this? It doesn't have to be, by the way, the stock market. It could be properties. You might have 3-4 properties that are bringing in over £2,000, £3,000 every single month, and that covers your expenses. Okay, and it could be the fact that you build this portfolio, amazing portfolio. And again, with the compound effect, inshallah, if I keep investing for the next 10 years, 15 years, this £100,000 portfolio might even be closer to $1 million. God knows, inshallah, Allah knows what's going to happen. But do you have your own goals? Okay, what are you doing about it day to day? Okay, because that's what matters. Are you just going to basically go to drive-throughs and buy coffee every single day for £7-8, or are you going to cut that down and make coffee at home, spend £7 a week on coffee, or rather than spending £7 a day on coffee? So my advice to all of you out there is just to kind of start looking and basically tracking your money. Where is my money going? Okay, track your net worth, basically worth. Analyze your investment portfolio. Have a look at what are you spending money on, so on. Analyze your investment portfolio for proper asset allocation. So, what is my asset allocation basically in terms of properties and basically when it comes to stock market and so on. Just pay attention to these things every single day, because the end of the goal is that what is your journey? Where are you headed? And basically, what have you got with you? You're not going to go into a long journey knowing in a desert, knowing basically without water, because you know you're probably going to die. Now, I'm not saying that's a bit of extreme, but you need to know maybe 20, 30 years down the line, where am I going to be? And if you're young and you're watching this in your 20s, please just make sure that you're doing all these things that we've talked about a lot here, because it really makes a difference. You look at those, use those compound calculators and see how much you can actually be worth in 10-15 years down the line. Of course, you have to do a bit of estimation, but it will give you a really good idea where you are now and where you need to be, inshallah, in 10 years, and work towards that goal. And don't basically worry about what happens to the stock market today and whatever. Buy when you see basically a red day, when you see those green days, alhamdulillah, and carry on with your life. Every single month, automatically automate your investment and so on, which basically is some of the things that we're going to talk about in the next videos, inshallah. I hope this was helpful. If you find it any use, please, of course, share with your family and friends and everybody out there. All I'm trying to do, inshallah, is just to kind of educate all of us and actually share my journey with you guys. This is literally this a day and night. I think about basically the long-term plan. I think about where am I now, what am I doing, what do I need to do next. And that's basically all I've been doing in the last 5 years that I have basically been more or less investing. So inshallah, we'll get there together. And if you like this type of content, please join us on this journey. Join us in the Patreon account, where you can actually get a lot of basically little benefits, inshallah, from it. And have a wonderful day. And again, as I always say to you guys, I genuinely appreciate all your support. So like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a wonderful day. Assalamu Alaikum.